Got it on? Ms. Ruth? So I'll check with Mark and Keith. You guys there?
I am.
A little quiet. I'll turn up the volume a little bit, assuming I know how to do that. There we go. Mark, are you with us?
Yes. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep, we got you, Keith. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. We'll see if Mark pops up. All right, I got 5:15. We good? All right, good evening, everybody. For the record, it is Thursday, September 12th, 2019. It's 5:15 p.m., time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. Our first item is always a pledge to our flag. Councilmember Harold, would you lead us? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Harold. So for attendance today, we have 5 members here. Councilmember Huffaker, are you with us?
I am present.
Councilmember Kulas, are you with us?
Aye, aye.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. First item on our agenda this evening are the consent items, which include this evening's agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meetings, and to accept the work performed by contractor DW Excavation on the Horse Lake Sanitary Sewer Project. So I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that we accept the consent agenda, which includes the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from the previous meeting, and also included in that motion for the City Council to accept the work performed by the contractor DW Excavating, Inc. for the Horse Lake Road Sanitary Sewer Extension Project number 1713, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher certification on behalf of the City of Wenatchee.
Second.
And a motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Harold to approve this evening's agenda, vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meetings, and authorize the mayor's signature and accept the work performed by the contractor DW Excavation, Inc. for the Horse Lake Road Sanitary Sewer Extension Project number 1713. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda this evening would be citizens' comment. We would, any member of the audience like to address the council on something that's either on today's agenda or not. We ask you to come up, give you 3 minutes, your name and address for the record. Seeing no takers this evening, we will move on to our presentations. We have some great ones today. The first is regarding Gear Up Week. Councilmember Poyer, do you have that?
Yes,
Would
thank
you
you,
read
Mayor.
that on the record, please?
Yes, of course. The proclamation of Gear Up, whereas the Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, Gear Up, is a federally funded program designed to increase the number of students who stay in school and succeed in post-secondary education. And whereas Gear Up focuses on students from low-income and underserved communities who might be the first person in their family to go to college. And whereas Washington Gear Up serves over 48,000 students in grades 6 through 12 and has enabled thousands of students to achieve the dream of going to college as a result of Gear Up, grants awarded since 1999. And whereas Washington is committed to providing a quality education for all students, helping them to achieve their highest potential. Now therefore, I, Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor of the City of Wenatchee, do hereby proclaim the week of September 23rd to the 29th, 2019 as National Gear Up Week in the City of Wenatchee, Washington. And I urge all citizens to join me in this special observance. In witness whereof I have caused the seal of the City of Wenatchee to be affixed of this 12th day of September 2019, Frank J. Kuntz.
Thank you, Mike. Gabby, come on up. The rest of your team. Frank, how are you? How are you? Good. So, grab a picture. Hold on.
Thank you.
So do you want to say anything? Grab a mic and.
Just want to let you know that we're only serving the classes of 2021. Just to let you know, we're serving the classes of 2020 and 2021. and it's not on. And we are applying. We're hoping to apply again this coming winter, and to find out if by the end of the end of summer, we'll get funded again. And that means that we return to the middle schools, pick up the classes, and come back all the way up to the high school with the kids.
So is that state funding?
It is, no, it's Department of Education.
Federal, okay.
Yes. And so, we're looking for mentors for students, the first generation. We have a college mentor program at Wenatchee High School, and we're looking for people to help us. It's super easy, very nice person that collaborates with us, Andy Johnson. So if you want to help us, it's only Tuesday nights, and come join us. Thank you.
Well, thanks,
And see you at Fiestas Mexicanas.
Okay, yeah. This weekend.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Recovery Month proclamation. Jim Bailey, do you have that?
I have that one, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Whereas recovery from mental and substance use disorders, including co-occurring disorders, is an essential part of health and one's overall wellness, and whereas treatment and recovery services for mental and substance use disorders and co-occurring disorders is effective and people can and do recover in our area and around the nation, and whereas addressing and overcoming mental and substance abuse disorders and co-occurring disorders is essentially to achieving healthy lifestyles both physically and emotionally, and whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and substance use disorders and co-occurring disorders to implement preventive measures, recognize the signs of a problem, and encourage those in need of help to seek appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas to help more people with lived experience achieve and sustain recovery, the Central Washington Recovery Coalition invite all residents of Wenatchee to participate in National Recovery Month, September 2019. And now, therefore, I, Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of Wenatchee, Washington, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2019 as National Recovery Month in Wenatchee and call upon the people of Wenatchee to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies to support this year's Recovery Month theme, Join the Voices for Recovery. Together we are stronger, and to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Recovery Month observance. In witness whereof, I have caused the seal of the City of Wenatchee to be affixed on this 12th day of September 2019. Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Bailey. Is Victor here? Yeah. There he is. Thought I saw him over there.
Yeah.
Second time in a week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, the white's gonna look good against the white. Yeah. Thanks. You want to say anything? Or?
Yeah, I don't need a microphone. I got a pretty loud voice. So, there's been a problem with, in society for many years, which is substance use disorder. It's becoming really lately that people are coming out from behind the anonymous programs and bringing out the voice and letting other people know that people can change. I don't know if anybody knows anything about me except for the officer over here, but I have a history in the city of Wenatchee. I've been to prison several times. And now I work for the Women's Resource Center. I do homeless outreach. I interact with the city. I work with the police departments. I work with people with mental health issues. So people like me can turn their lives around from who I once used to be, and that's what this month is all about for us, is people coming out from behind their anonymous programs and letting our voices be heard, that there's a bigger problem out there and we're trying to find solutions to solve them. So we are having an event at the end of the month at starting at the Walking Bridge on September 28th at 12 o'clock. It's called Hands Across the Bridge. We're going to join in unity. It's going to be people in recovery, families of people who are in recovery, families of people who lost loved ones. And then after that, we're going to be followed up at Linden Tree Park, have a free barbecue, and we're going to have guest speakers from all over the state of Washington. I really appreciate this, and this is an honor. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Victor.
All right.
All right. We do another proclamation regarding Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Councilmember Markhart.
Whereas pediatric cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children, and whereas 1 in 258 children in the United States will be diagnosed by the 20th birthday, and whereas 80% of childhood cancer cases are diagnosed only after the disease has metastasized and spread to other areas of the body, and whereas 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will have long-lasting chronic conditions as a result of their treatments,
they go through, and whereas the National Cancer Institute recognized the unique research needs of childhood cancer and increased funding to conduct this research, and whereas in the last 20 years, only 4 new drugs have been developed specifically to treat children with cancer, and whereas researchers and healthcare professionals work diligently to dedicate their expertise to treat and cure children with cancer, and whereas too many children are affected by this deadly disease and more must be done to raise awareness and find a cure. Now, therefore, I, Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor of the City of Wenatchee, do hereby proclaim September 2019 to be Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Wenatchee, and encourage all Wenatchee residents to learn more about childhood cancers and consider what we all can do to support children with cancers and their families. A witness whereof I have caused the seal of the City of Wenatchee to be affixed on this day, 12th day of September 2019, Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor.
Thanks, Lyle. Is anybody here to grab this? I don't think so. We got this from some other folks, but you'll forward that to her. Thank you. And the final one is Young Professionals Week. Councilmember Esparza.
Young Professionals Week, September 23rd through the 27th, 2019. Whereas Young Professionals Week is dedicated to celebrate, retain, and inspire young professionals in the city of Wenatchee, and whereas young professionals are recognized as an integral piece of the city of Wenatchee's current workforce and economic, social, and cultural future, and whereas community leaders, businesses, organizations, and young professionals will forge connections to drive the community forward through unique opportunities and partnerships, and whereas the community is engaged to participate in the ongoing mentorship of young professionals and support creative thinking and enthusiasm in the city of Wenatchee's future leaders, whereas Young Professionals Week in the city of Wenatchee is a resource for young professionals in the Wenatchee Valley to come together, network, and be exposed to things they may not have otherwise known to exist in their community. A variety of activities will be offered at different times of the day during Young Professionals Week for everyone to enjoy. Now, therefore, I, Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor of the City of Wenatchee, do hereby proclaim the week of September 23rd through the 27th, 2019 as Young Professionals Week in the City of Wenatchee, and encourage young professionals to attend the many downtown activities planned September 23rd through the 27th as a way for young professionals to come together and connect and build relationships. In witness whereof, I have caused the seal of the City of Wenatchee to be affixed on this 12th day of September 2019. Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Esparza. Alex, Meredith, come on up. So these activities, was there like beer drinking involved in those? Because I see you two coming up and I figured that might be part of the deal.
We found, this is the 3rd year we've done it, and we found that the events where there might be some alcoholic beverages involved are typically more popular.
I figured if Alex was there, they would be that way. I didn't- So what do you guys got planned?
You know, it's going to be a week-long series once again, and we have several different options. The kickoff event is presented by Confluence Health this year at PIBIS, and they're, again, our sponsor. So we're really grateful for community partnerships and for the city to recognize the importance of this.
Great. Hopefully I'll see you out there sometime.
Yeah.
I'll be around that week. So. Make sure I know where to go. No, I'm not. There you go. Thanks, guys. What's a young professional? What's the definition?
Under 60.
Yes, that sounds good.
All right, so we have a number of action items this evening. The first is regarding the North Wenatchee Stormwater Project 1617. We got Jeremy Hoover here. Come on up, Jeremy. Is that a slinky or is that actually a stormwater pipe?
That actually was a stormwater pipe at one point.
Okay.
So, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm here to talk to you about the storm drain project that we have going on. The project involves reconstruction, specifically replacement of a large diameter storm drain that currently exists on the PUD storage yard north of Holly. It's just north of the switching station there, kind of part of the same property, but on the far north end. The existing pipe, as you can see, has failed poorly. It is currently, excuse me, it is currently causing some subsidence of the storage yard there. Approximately 25-foot diameter hole has opened up where all the soil is just completely eroded away. It's unusable by the PUD. We have taken ownership of that line through some negotiations over the past year and a half, give or take. So we need to replace it. It is the outfall for a large portion of the city. The storm drainage ends up mostly in that pipe. We are planning on introducing some more stormwater into that pipe as part of another phase of this project, which will abandon a ditch that's on the north of this property between the Holiday Inn and the railroad tracks. PUD has partnered with us. They're willing to pay for half of the construction costs as well as a portion of the design costs that we have already incurred with base engineering. We have an interlocal agreement that is currently in draft format, but is, I would say, probably about 99% of the draft format. And you will see that at the next council meeting on the 26th. That describes their involvement in the process and whose responsibilities are what. So we have completed the design. We have sent the project out for bid. We received several bids for the project. The low bid contractor was J&K. The bids ranged fairly substantially. I believe you guys have the bid tabulations in front of you. There were 7 people on the plan holders list. I believe there was 4 that finally bid it. I don't have that in front of me, but we got a big range of numbers. So I was here earlier at Finance Committee to request funding for this project, and after that, I am here to request that you award the project to J&K and authorize the mayor to sign the project, or sign the contract documents.
And this will be completed, obviously, before the snow falls, hopefully? Is that the thought?
It's going to be done this year.
Okay. And they'll start next week, week after?
Ideally, the 30th. That's what the contractors committed to me, contingent on everything coming together in paperwork, et cetera.
Any questions of Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy, I have a couple of things. In the budget, this was in our packet here. The design dollars here, the number kind of jumped out at me, not knowing all the ins and outs and whatever, but just a brief explanation, I guess. And, design is $240,000, $250,000. I guess I'm just thinking that this is kind of excessively high for two city lots, 55-foot lots. You did the whole quarter of a mile of pipe up on Horse Lake Road for less than that. I mean, what took so much, money to do the study on a short 110-foot, 115-foot pipe?
Sure. If the design had been specifically and strictly for this section of pipe, I would totally agree with you. That would have been an outrageous amount of money to spend for it. But there are several pieces of this project that we've been working on. There's a ditch that we're wanting to abandon due to maintenance problems that's up north of Holiday Inn. We were going to pipe that. We have a design for that. That was to redirect the water that currently hits the Wenatchee River, direct it back towards this location. In the process, there are some water quality improvements that have to happen in order for the PUD to accept the water that we're going to be sending down there. It's a significant amount of water. There's going to be some significant changes to the way that we drain the city, and we have to take care of the metals and sediments and various constituents that are in that water before the PUD will take it. So we've looked at the Haran area, the open space area that's to the east, and we're going to be doing some improvements out there to help mitigate the water quality before it hits the wetlands that are to the north and east of this location. So there are a lot of moving parts. There's been some coordination with PUD, with BNSF, with varying results. And this is what we have arrived on in terms of the fix that needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Okay, that
Long answer.
That makes me feel better.
So the design is for portions of other phases of this project that at some point will be done over multiple years?
Correct.
Okay. So
I
they,
can't
yeah.
give you a timeline at this point.
Yeah, but some of the design had to be done in order to figure out the size of this pipe and where it goes, and so there's a little bit more to it than just
Yeah,
this
okay,
115
that, I feel better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Jeremy, this is Keith. At some point, will you be bringing the, because my question was about the water quality issues, that it wasn't good enough before, what's going to happen to it now? So is that part of phase 2, phase 3 that we'll be seeing how that water quality issue is going to be handled, or what's the plan for the water quality issue being taken care of?
Short answer, yes, it will be part of a separate phase of the project. There's a lot of moving parts that have to be addressed in this, one of which is North Wenatchee Avenue, where the eventual right-of-way is going to be, what we're going to be doing out there in front of Wendy's, what we're going to be doing on the north side of the outlet, what we're going to be doing on the east side of the tracks downstream. So there's a lot of moving parts. So yes, you will be seeing some additional work associated with this larger project. There is an ecology grant associated with this project that will go to pay for a portion of the water quality improvement design. We have not utilized those funds yet because we've been focusing more on this aspect of the project right away. We'll also be submitting a grant request at some point to ecology for additional construction funds. Time frame to be determined at this point.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. That answers my question.
All right, any other questions for Jeremy? If not, I would entertain a motion if we had one.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to approve the project budget amendment presented to the Finance Committee and allocate funding for the construction and to award the contract for construction of the North Wenatchee Stormwater Project number 1617 to J&K Earthworks LLC in the amount of $337,000 and $466.54 and authorize the mayor to approve the construction contract.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Poyer, to approve the project budget amendment presented to the Finance Committee and allocate funding for the construction and to award the contract for construction of the North Wenatchee Stormwater Project 1617 to J&K Earthworks LLC in the amount of $337,466.54 and authorize the mayor to approve the construction contracts. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Chief, finally bent the arm of the school district, huh?
You need a copy.
Fast sailing, Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm very happy to bring forth the contract that comes from the Wenatchee School District. This is an agreement to share costs for 2 school resource officers. What the agreement does is gets rid of the previous agreement with the school district. It starts a new one that it actually has an expiration in 2020 at the end of August, and we'll be reviewing the existing contract in June of 2020 for renewal. So there are some clauses in there that we're able to work with the school district on. The financials are in a separate document sheet that will be brought forth for the 2020 budget discussions. For 2019, the remainder of 2019, we believe that we could cover the costs of the school resource officer because we have some vacancy rate savings where we haven't filled an FTE. So we're hopeful to have a school resource officer up and running, and they'll all actually be running at a positive variance for the remainder of 2019 because of that vacancy rate. So I think this is a great opportunity for both the school district and the city of Wenatchee. So really happy about this.
Yeah, we approached the school district probably almost a year ago when they were paying for 3/4 of one and we were paying for 1/4 of one, and I think the chief and and everyone else said we need to have a second one. We went back to them and say, we'll even pay for more. Can we make it 50-50? And I think they had some financial issues at the time. And so Chief kept pushing. And I think we got to a point now where it's clearly needed. And I think sounds like you might have someone in the next month or so ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, we're already talking with the school district. They wanted to be part of the selection process for the school resource officer. Totally agreed with that from the get-go. Obviously, having somebody within their schools and the facilities, they want to be part of that. So we're on board with that. We're hoping that within the next couple of weeks, we'll actually have a selection. We'll start them October 2nd-ish, and then we'll get them kind of an orientation process for about a week or two, and then they'll be off and running.
Chief Crown,
Yes.
I'm not sure if I understood at the beginning, the existing contract goes away or whatever we want to call that. But then the new one's only good until August of 2020?
Yeah, for some reason, the school board thought it was really important to have this only be a one-year contract, but we were able to work with them and get an additional line in there. I'll read it to you real quick. Both parties agree to meet on or before June 30th, 2020 to review the need and feasibility of extending this agreement. It's very similar in nature. They laid it out as truly a one-year contract, but there's other language in the back of the agreement that talks about termination. Either party could terminate this agreement with notification. I think it was within 30 days. So that has always been a concern when entering into one of these agreements. And yes, that would mean if we didn't renew the contract, we'd be sitting there figuring out what we're going to do with an FTE. Are we going to accept full financial responsibility for that FTE if we backfilled? So.
But even if we didn't accept that full FTE, there's always a spot for a police officer that will never lose their position because of this, because the city would take that on. That's correct?
Sure, that is absolutely correct. And honestly, you know what our hiring woes have been, and also know what our high standard for hiring people are. So yes, we take longer to hire individuals. We always seem to have that natural built-in cushion of one FTE. So hopefully we won't have to use it. Hopefully the next testing process will find the best quality officers, and they'll be able to hit the ground running. But unfortunately, we haven't been that lucky yet.
I just know that there always has to be that a good police officer, we always keep. We figure it out. Yeah. So that has to be.
And I think from the school district's perspective, I mean, they've obviously had some financial issues. They had quite a few layoffs. They sort of replenished, I think, with the legislature gave them some actual councilmatic authority on property tax. So I think corresponding with their ability to raise property taxes, the very next vote, I think, was to do the school resource officer. So I think they feel comfortable with the financial situation, but they just want to make sure after another year that some surprise doesn't happen. So I think they're committed to this. They just want to make sure that they've got the money to kind of keep that going. So.
I'm not for sure, but there is some discussion about in the next legislative session, they may be talking about some additional funding through OSPI for these type of police within schools, school resource officers, and possibly covering some of the training as well. So there might be some additional good news on the horizon, but right now we're just excited that we're able to get another officer in the school district and start working with kids.
All right. Any other questions for Chief? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Well, Your Honor, I'd move that the interlocal agreement between the City of Wenatchee and Wenatchee School District number 246, RE School Resource Officers, that we enter into that agreement between the city and the school district.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Bailey and a second by Councilmember Markart to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Wenatchee and Wenatchee School District 246, effective immediately to hire an additional school resource officer. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to change the agreement with 1313 Walla Walla regarding public access. Who's got that one? Glenn, is that you? We lose the flip? There's no name next to this one, so.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Glenn DeVries, Community Development Director. In recent years, we've had a number of actions in this area. We're trying to pull up the parcel map with a depiction, but this is a site that's across the street on Walla Walla from from Town Toyota Center. And it recently had a development for Dragoo with the residential units and the commercial on the bottom floor. And then behind that property was historically a site owned by Parlett. And in recent years, you've had a number of actions. One, you've had a lot consolidation, and you've also had a binding site plan alteration. And you've also had an agreement with the city taking on some dedicated right-of-way for an extension of the shoreline trail. Because even though there's the park facility further down, the park facility actually has no ADA access to the shoreline through their property. So the result was we have a great new development with Dragoo, and the hope was that the changes that were done with those two actions would result in some new development close to the waterfront. Well, today we have some exciting new development. We've got a building permit application for a Marriott hotel. Have a wonderful developer who's very proactive and is going to submit, has a really high quality product. We knew there would be some minor changes to accommodate the development with respect to moving around easements for utilities. We also had hoped early on that such a development would come in and actually, instead of doing this curved route for a trail facility, do we have it up? It's coming. So instead of having this curved route for a trail facility, we had hoped the developer would come in and actually do more of a straight shot to the shoreline. And that's what they've proposed, which is exciting. In general, it follows the road corridor. It crosses the road once, but takes an east-west, west to east path to the park. Provides an ADA access, provides access for that development. So it's exciting. We've got a new development proposal, and we've got a great access that we'd hoped could end up in this fashion to the shoreline. So the actions before you tonight that we're asking is that you would authorize the mayor to sign a binding site plan alteration, which will provide for the changes to the utility easements, relocations, and that you will authorize the mayor to sign an agreement which would relinquish the ownership of a piece of property that we have for a pedestrian access path, and instead give us rights for an easement for a shoreline access to access the park and the shoreline. And I believe Mr. Jammerman is here, could answer any questions on utilities. I can try to answer any questions on the applications before you. Would stand for any questions you might have.
I would just sort of comment, I think the city's role in undoing this binding site plan has been the right thing to do. There were some discussions a couple of years ago that why are we in the middle of trying to undo a binding site plan, and had we not undone it, none of this stuff would have happened. Dragoo wouldn't have built, the other condos wouldn't have got built, and then this hotel wouldn't have got built. So our role in here has sort of been the right role, I think. The issue always was we weren't quite sure where the private easement would go. We knew it was going to be one from Walla Walla all the way to the park. We didn't know if whoever got it would want it to go left to right, right to left, wherever they want it. So this moving, I think, accommodates what the residents and folks want to do. So I think it's good. My only question and I don't know whether we can even answer that, is as it approaches the park, I'm assuming there'll be no fence there or some sort of, have we made decisions with the PUD about what they're requiring there?
Yeah, so the PUD has been a good partner and is allowing access through that. I'm sorry, I can't remember whether it's a gate or just open access through there, but they've been great partners and have worked with the applicants and have an agreement in place.
And do you know with respect to the Residence Inn, will that be open or fenced, or are you aware of what the PUD's doing there?
It is, I think there might be a low, I'm sorry, I don't, Stephen Noon.
Okay, that's okay.
I
It's
believe
nice.
it might be a low wall, but not a fence.
Okay.
More of an open feel to it versus a chain link.
Got it. Thank you.
I have I guess, a concern here. I don't disagree with the routing. It's kind of like using the term binding site plan is kind of an oxymoron here over the last few years. But the idea here is that, you have access to the park. But if I'm reading this map right, where it exits out, from the hotel into the quote unquote onto PUD, to be PUD property, is basically dumping it into a parking lot. How does that fit with ADA requirements and that kind of thing? I mean, there's a substantial, you don't get to the trail. You're going to have to work at it to find your way either south or north in the middle of a parking lot to find the trail somewhere out there. Is there any possibility of having, the PUD putting in another trail segment that would connect directly from that point to the trail across that?
Or signage? No, that's a good question. We can reach out to the PUD and see if they'd be willing to entertain something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's, you walk in there, especially from people out of town or those kinds of things, you just, all of a sudden now you're in a parking lot where, and traffic and those kinds of things. So it's not a neutral field. You're in a very different environment there.
That's a good point. We'll reach out to Ray Height with the PUD.
Thank you.
All right, any questions for Glenn? If not, I entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for City Council to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement re-pedestrian access substantially in the form presented as Exhibit 3 of the September 9th, 2019 agenda report prepared by the City of Wenatchee Community Development staff, and to authorize the mayor to sign the final binding site plan alteration for BSP-19-02 once the city engineer and the subdivision administrator have completed a review and signed the final Mylar.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Markart, second by Councilmember Bailey, to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement regarding the pedestrian access substantially in the form presented as Exhibit 3 of the September 9th, 2019 agenda report prepared by the City of Wenatchee Community Development staff, and authorize the mayor to sign the final binding site plan alteration for BSP 19-02 once the city engineer and the subdivision administrator have completed their review and signed the final Mylar. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Glenn. Hello, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor.
Looks like we got a property sale.
Yes, we do. I feel like I'm catching some of the balls that were in the air when Steve King left. We have, we had the one with Les Schwab. We've got this one with Tom Callis, Hooked on Toys, and we've got a couple others that should be coming up here. We may have one every meeting for a while.
That's good.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
So, this is part of the property that we acquired from Northwest Wholesale. The purpose of the acquisition was so that we could acquire the right-of-way we needed for the extension of McKittrick Street, and then also the future underpass under the railroad, and then the extension of Columbia Street in the future. So we've divided that property up, created the roads we wanted, created a number of parcels that we can sell then and relieve some of the costs that we incurred to acquire this property. And we're in the process of selling them. And this is one of the larger pieces. Tom Callis of Hooked on Toys was interested in it. It seems like an ideal site for his store. And so we're really pleased that they're willing to purchase it. It seems like a great use of the property. We worked out the sale price, which is $1,239,844. It's based on a price of $17 per square feet. it wanted to point something out. It has a 120-day contingency period. The city has an obligation to complete the construction of McKittrick Street and Columbia Street. I had written into my materials and the draft and the purchase and sale agreement had to be done by the end of 2020. The Public Works Department noticed that and indicated that that likely won't be done by the end of 2020. And so we needed to extend that out to the end of 2021. And so I've sent a revised version of this to Tom Callis and his attorney. I've talked to his attorney today. It sounds like that's not a problem. We just need to get the signed version back. So I'd like to have this agreement approved with that change, with that understanding of that change, and we won't have the mayor sign it until we get their revised version back. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It'll close by January 20th of 2020, and then we can get that carrying cost off our books.
I think the McKittrick Street stuff is going to be done next year. At least Rob Jammerman has promised me that twice.
He wouldn't promise me that.
Well, it's the Columbia Street part, I think, is probably the following year, which I think is what Mr. Callis is interested in, making sure that both of those improvements are complete. So, yeah, and I think the price is right. Hopefully it works for Mr. Callis. It's a good deal for the city. It's going to be a great location with the new traffic light at McKittrick Street, and will really, again, be a good addition to the Smitties and those folks in that area. It's a good combination.
I think their customers will like it too. It'd be easier to get in and out.
Yeah, get your boat in and out and park on Columbia and go out the other way, or however you need to do that. So, yeah, hopefully it works out great for both parties. So is there a specific language, Steve, that you need for us to agree to? I don't
have the motion. It's on the agenda, I think.
So the motion was for the council to authorize the mayor to sign the purchase sale agreement substantially in the form attached to the staff report. That's probably enough, isn't it?
Yeah, I just don't want you to sign it till we get that revised version.
I think we're good.
Yeah, that sounds.
We're good.
All right, any questions for Mr. Smith while we have him here? If not, I'd entertain.
About this.
Oh, I will make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign a purchase and sale agreement substantially in the form attached to the staff report with Tom Callis, and further negotiate any final details of the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Poyer, second by Councilmember Esparza, to authorize the mayor to sign a purchase and sale agreement substantially in the form attached to the staff report with Tom Callis, and further negotiate any final details of the agreement. Discussion. It's about time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you,
Thanks,
council.
Allison, lease number 2 with Women's Resource Center.
Good evening. Allison Williams, Executive Services Director. I realized that we did not get the actual BLA visual, the instrument that will be recorded into the packet. So I think Tammy is pulling that up. So in August of 2017, you authorized the lease of Parcel D on the Parkside property to the Women's Resource Center for the purposes of creating more permanent supportive housing units. As they have worked through the process to obtain their grant and work with their funding source requires the property line to follow the building footprint. And so they have gone through the process to get a new boundary line adjustment for this parcel that will be recorded with this lease amendment. And this will get them on their way. They're looking at reviewing bids on September 23rd, organizing a groundbreaking in October, and construction will be underway, should take 9 months to a year. So we would ask for City Council authorization of the mayor's signature on lease amendment number 2 between the city and the Women's Resource Center for the boundary line adjustment. And then we will record the BLA as well.
So this is the grassy area next to Parkside that we signed a long-term lease with. We were originally going to do a park with it, and then we signed a long-term lease with Parkside. Now we're just sort of cleaning it up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they're going to build 20 units?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they'll be the same as the units they have next door to them?
Same type of housing.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. great. Low barrier.
Yep.
Permanent supportive
Permanent
housing.
supportive housing, yeah,
Yes,
which we obviously know we need.
yes.
Yeah, Allison, I'm trying to figure out on the map here, but just in brief terms, this boundary line adjustment, is that, how much land is that? I mean, are we talking just a strip, or are we talking a substantial chunk of real estate or whatever?
It is very minimal. It took the straight line and just provided a jag in it that follows the building because of the setbacks required for their building footprint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we didn't have a map in our
Right.
packet, so I was kind of just curious
Yeah.
how much
And-
we were dealing with here.
Yeah, and we didn't have the site plan yet to go along with it.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
All right, any questions for Allison? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to authorize the mayor's signature on lease amendment number 2 between the City of Wenatchee and the Women's Resource Center of North Central Washington for Parkside Parcel D.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Esparza, second by Councilmember Poyer to authorize the mayor's signature on lease amendment number 2 between the City of Wenatchee and the Women's Resource Center of North Central Washington for Parkside Parcel D. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Allison. Captain Reinfeld, contract with Waspic for mental health field work.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We're bringing back before you again for the second year in a row our mental health field response team grant. We were successful in our attempt to get another year, which was an excellent thing to refresh. It provides services an additional 36 hours per week over the coverage provided under the regular funding for Catholic Charities to provide mental health field response in both Chelan and Douglas counties. We are the lead agency based on the grant application requirements, and this is a pass-through grant with no financial impact to the city. What we're asking for tonight is the authority for Mayor Kuntz to sign both the agreement with Waspic for the grant and the user agreement with Open Lattice, the software that's related to this and is required by the grant. The software implementation was unsuccessful last year. I don't have a lot of high hopes this year, but we'll try again because it's what they asked for. So I don't think anybody, it broke last year. We'll hopefully get it going this year. It will be very interesting to use. Other than that, I don't have a lot further explanation. We were awarded $56,070 this year. We expended about $46,000 last year, and this will be a little bit longer grant period this year because of the award date.
So these will get Catholic family people to go with your staff and meet with folks that are homeless or experiencing mental health issues.
Exactly. It's focused on mental health and on diversion, keeping people out of jail and out of the hospital and entered into the services that are appropriate for their needs. This provides, they were routinely providing Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. coverage with an on-duty person. So the call time, if we call in Wenatchee, we can expect a response within 8 minutes, as opposed to the traditional wait we had before this process could be 3 or 4 hours at the hospital with an officer committed. 8 minutes is better than 3 hours any day. What this provides is coverage from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Monday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, and then 8 hours of coverage on Saturday. The 8 hours of coverage on Saturday varies, kind of slides back and forth on the clock. If it starts out early in the morning, they come out early. They generically do 9 to 5 on Saturday. But if we have a call at 7, they roll on shift at that point. If they have a planned need to go meet with somebody out in Mansfield or a place like that, they might start more like at 2 in the afternoon and work until 10 o'clock at night on Saturday. The Saturday is very adjustable, but they report an 8-hour shift on those days.
Excellent.
It's a great program.
And as we talked about at finance today, when you look at our jail numbers, we're at 35 or so population. When I first became mayor, we were close to 70, and part of that is because of these programs where we're getting people help as opposed to putting them in jail. And as the captain said, when he was starting, there were 100 people in jail at some point in time. So we're not always putting people in jail is the right answer, saving us on one side and then hopefully getting better results. So.
Yeah, I'm impressed with this program. I had a couple of questions, Captain. And this maybe is not directly related to this, but I mean directly in the grant kind of area, but it's related. I'm not sure what the program was that you had going that was training our officers there's a term and it escapes me at this point.
So the CIT training.
Yeah, right.
As an agency, we're fully compliant. And we
Okay.
actually have about 60% have the full 40-hour class, 100% have the 8-hour requirement met.
Okay,
And we're also 100% compliant with the 2-hour annual recertification from the state.
okay. And then we've added quite a few new officers in the last couple of years. So everybody that's comes new on board is entered into that training program.
And yes, sir, actually in 2016 or 17, it became part of the curriculum for the Basic Law Enforcement Academy.
Oh,
So those who graduated after a certain date, it may be back as far as 2015,
okay,
are credited with the training that occurs in BLEA because it's a part of the curriculum now.
okay.
The 40-hour course is not accomplished in BLEA. It's being offered again locally in November. We have additional staff lined up. Ideally, we would be at close to 80% with the 40 hours. It's difficult. It's difficult to give it that much time to training,
Mhm.
but we're well over 60%. And again, we're 100% on the 8-hour or more and on our research.
Okay. Yeah, this is a huge shift in how we do business.
Yes, sir.
And I've been impressed with the concept behind it and the fact that we are, I guess, full in on this. So I'm glad you got the grant and hope we can continue it.
Yes, sir.
All right, any questions for the captain? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Well, Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with WASPC and the user agreement with Open Lattice.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Esparza to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with WASPIC and the user agreement with Open Lattice. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Captain.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, council.
The final item on today's agenda is regarding some engineering work for the Columbia Street, which is the street that Mr. Callis wants us to get built so he can close this project. And you guys all know Matt Shells, who's our, I don't even know what your title is, project manager?
Development project manager.
Didn't want to miss that one.
Hey, good evening.
He's running everything for
Council
Steve
members.
King while he's gone.
Trying my best anyway. Yeah. So thanks to Steve Smith for highlighting, around your discussion and the importance of getting Columbia Street design going. So with our progress around property surplus and then the Northwest Wholesale buildings proposed to be demolished this fall, we're ready to go on Columbia design. And so back in late July, we put out a request for qualifications. We received 3 proposals back, KPG, RH2, and Gray and Osborne. We formed a selection committee, followed federal guidelines for that, and found that KPG would be the most qualified to provide those services to us. So talked about timeline earlier, but engineering design would start in late 2019 and go through early 2020 with the hopes of constructing in 2020, but starting construction. That's the way to say it. Okay, right there.
That gives
starting.
him 364 days of leeway. Right?
I was told it's easy. I don't know. So yeah, we'd like to get going. So we'd like to propose that the city council authorize the mayor to negotiate with KPG for engineering services for the design of Columbia Street, and then further authorize the mayor to sign a contract on behalf of the city.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt?
Yeah, Matt, on the map diagram that you have in our packets there, I'm just curious what, I don't know if you have that in front of you. Yeah, there's the one. There's some dotted black lines. What are those? What's included in all of that? Is that
You're
right
referring
away
to
or?
these on the outside?
Yeah,
So those would be the limits of the excavation that would be needed. Yep.
okay,
Yep.
okay. So that's not right away, or is that within the right of way?
It's all stuff that we own, yeah.
Yeah, but it's we own that. Okay, all right.
Oh, wait.
I think some of that is we're trying to get the right elevation to go underneath the,
That's an
Railroad
element to
tracks?
this
Part of
design. It has
the
to tie
underpass.
into, has to tie into McKittrick and the eventual underpass
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
yeah, so I think we're hopeful enough we'll get an underpass someday that we're sort of designing this as if it's coming. So
Yep.
I
That's
think there's quite a bit of excavation and backfill and stuff in order to make all that work.
dig the hole. Yeah. Good. Thank you, Matt.
Any other questions for Matt? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to authorize the mayor to negotiate with KPG for engineering services for the design of Columbia Street and further authorize the mayor to sign a contract on behalf of the city.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Harrell, second by Councilmember Poyer to authorize the mayor to negotiate with KPG for engineering services for the design of Columbia Street and further authorize the mayor to sign a contract on behalf of the city. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Matt. Mayor's report. Wow, is there a lot going on. I'm not even sure where to start. Usually I go to my calendar and go, well, where have I been for the last 2 weeks? But there's enough going on that, obviously you've seen the chip seal stuff. I think for the most part, we've got pretty positive comments on that process. It started later than we wanted to. It got into that first few days of school, which was clearly not the plan. There was, according to contractors, some broken down equipment someplace. We weren't able to confirm that, but needless to say, it sort of drug into the school. I think staff and the contractor did a nice job of accommodating how that went on there was a Friday where there was no school and there was a Monday when I think we sort of made that work about as best as we could. So we've heard a few complaints from bikers. They don't like the little gravel part, the rock part, but I think for the most part, we've heard nothing but positive comments, and contractor really got going on stuff. And so you're seeing the paint go on pretty bright. You can really see it on that real black pavement. So I think overall we feel pretty good about the product and sort of how that contract is going. So we're pretty excited about that. I don't know where all these storms are coming from, but we've had 3 now. So we didn't get any smoke this summer, but we got 3 events and we got water going everywhere. So I think we'll hear more from Rob and his crew as they sort of figure out kind of what's going on. We think some of the flooding in downtown has to do with private stormwater systems that aren't working accordingly. And then obviously there's some spots where we just got more water than we could handle. We had one little issue down at Maiden Lane with some issues with the previous contract. So Rob will tell you that story someday. Asphalt lifted off the ground about this high and then came back down again. So water under it's a long story. Anyhow, dealing with all of those sorts of things, which I think are sort of normal. But we've had a lot of development activity again, meeting with different folks on different development stuff. So there's something in the air all of a sudden where everyone wants to sort of chip away at the city on stuff. But I think everything, as far as I know, is going well. I'll be meeting with the port tomorrow morning. We got some counter back and forth on the lineage stuff. So I think we're getting close. So hopefully something decent to report maybe next time we meet. So just other sort of fun stuff. The roof is leaking at the Performing Arts Center, the America PAC. As you can imagine, the building is getting close to 30 years old. Things are falling apart, and of course, they don't have any money, so they would appreciate if the city would fix their problems. We'll be meeting with their board of directors next week. My sort of general sense is the roof is one issue, but if the roof is 30 years old, the air conditioning units are 30 years old, and you and I all know how much those things sort of cost, and this is just the start of a
gift that keeps on giving.
big gift that keeps on giving. And so again, we'll be meeting with their board of directors next week, and we'll have some conversation about that. Not exactly sure what the end game is. They really don't have any money to put into it. We offered to split it with them 50-50, and they say, well, they don't have that. They're willing to pay for their share over time. Well, that's just going out of programs. So I'm not quite sure how this is all supposed to work, but we will have a meeting with them next week. We did open bids this week regarding the remodel of our old city hall. So the bids came in, engineer's estimate is 1.7. The bid was about 2.1. Of the 2.1, 800 is ours and 1.3 belongs to Social Security for their internal remodel that they will be paying back to us over time. 800 is a couple hundred more than we had thought on our side. I don't know what Social Security was thinking on their side, but we got to sit down with them and they have some options to pay some of theirs up front. And the old plan was that we would just take their share and divide it by 10 years, and they would just add it to the rent payment. That was sort of the plan when we thought it was going to be $500,000 of their money. When it's $1.3 million of their money, makes us look at that a little differently. So Aaron and Elisa and the team will be meeting with GSA over the next month or so to see if we can sort of get that sort of figured out. So I'm not as concerned about our number. I'm concerned about carrying that number all the way to the finish line. So we'll sort of see where that goes. Allison, give me more stuff because there's more stuff.
We've had several meetings with groups of people talking through our homelessness issue.
Yeah, so I'll just sort of, in a general sense, we've had some issues around the convention center area, folks sort of hanging there. We all know the Boise case and what we can and can't do. Our officers are doing a great job. We have done a couple of things. I'm not going to tell you what they are. If you want to know what they are, you can ask me privately and I will probably tell you, but we are trying to do the best we can to keep those folks moving along. And we're just trying to do things that we think are in the best interest of the city and not violating what the Boise case has for us. So we are working on that the best that we can. But it's sort of a daily event now, whether they're bathing in the, urinating in the, dogs drinking out of the, washing sleeping bags out of the, all that stuff sort of down there. So a lot happening in that area, and we're dealing with it the best that we can. Not easy for us, not easy for the chief, but we're doing the best we can. Keep going.
We have a wrap-up meeting with the school district we're trying to schedule just to.
Yeah, so we did
finalize.
meet with the Superintendent Gordon and some of their staff a week or so ago. A great guy, really working on, I think, governance issues for their board. I think they've been more than cooperative. I mean, the first thing you saw out of this was the school resource officer thing that we couldn't get to the finish line before. We're also working with them on the real estate deal that we have across the Springwater property. So that is still going on. Going to the triad issue, Department of Ecology, I'm not even going to go. So they've issued some rulings regarding if you're developing ag-based property, we now have to test for lead arsenic. And then we also have to come up with a plan if there is lead arsenic, and we have to put notice to title. And so we have a number of people who are concerned that that basically prevents the development of any old orchard because of all the cost to clean up something that we've been living with for 40 years, me for 55 years. So just some concern amongst the development community. I know Glenn's been working with ecology and the planners around the state, and at least in Eastern Washington, are concerned about how that's going to affect development. So we're sort of watching that, I'd say, pretty closely.
Is there any chance of ecology helping dollar-wise to clean things up?
I don't know that they've got money to do it. I think they just want to force the developer to do it out of some sort of health and safety sort of issue, which, again, we've been developing orchards for a long, long time. And so there's some that think this is way too much of a burden that you're putting on the developers to do that. And so, again, I just noticed there's concern. There's got to be more. Keep going.
It is, well, I mean, budget, capital facility.
Yeah, we've worked our way. Brad will get us a first run of the budget. You'll probably get something in your emails in the next week or 10 days or so. So I think really with the sales taxes hanging in there fine, I think for the most part, what you'll see is by the time we add increase to the jail, a little bit for the museum and a few of our other little contracts, that will pretty much eat up. And we're looking at $300,000 on the jail by itself. There won't be a lot of room for additional employees. So we're going to, I think, the finance committee meets in a couple of weeks. We'll go through all the asks and maybe a little bit. I know Chief's got some plans for an officer or two. We'll sort of see where all that goes. But Brad said there's 88 asks. That's out of just the reoccurring or non-reoccurring or both?
Those are asks that cross all funds. I would say probably 60 of those are on the general fund.
Okay.
So looking at, I think we've got all in all 4 million of requests on the general fund.
Okay. So we went through the list today of things that have been, we had our list of stuff and we're not spending it all this year because some projects aren't getting done, but we've added some, and so we sort of went through the list a little bit. And I think we'll be a little bit more conservative next year as to the non-recurring items that we'll work on. We got to see what's going on with Social Security on this building and how that's going to sort of work its way through the wash. So the bonding that we told you about, the cash came in last week. So, and Brad's made all the adjustments to where all that's supposed to go. So I think we're sort of good with that. Allison, keep going. I can just talk forever.
Well, just for our lodging tax group, Mark Kulas approved the draft agenda for next week. So we have a steering committee that's looking at the market analysis for the convention center. So they'll review that draft tomorrow morning, and then the consultant will present to the full lodging tax advisory committee and TPA because it's a joint meeting next Wednesday. And then we'll have the convention center business plan. So interesting to look at 5 options for the convention center. And so he'll be here then to present in October to the full city council.
And I will tell you this on the budget, I mentioned this to the finance committee, I'll mention it to the entire council. So Carrie, the HR director, did a salary analysis. She does them every so often for the management group. I sat down with Brad and made some adjustments into the salary range for some of our management team. We're 10 to 15% under comps most of the way through the management team. I am generally one not to say I want to pay 100% of comps because I think there's something special about living here, but we got some adjustments in there to get them a little closer to the right number. So I'm not going to talk about who or what or how, but if any of you have questions individually about what we did or how we did it, no problems talking to you. But it'll be baked into the budget numbers. So we won't be asking for anything. It will be sort of in the budget numbers. But again, nothing in terms of major or anything off the scale. And you guys have approved the pay scale in January anyhow, so you'll see them. I just want you to know that that's been done, and well, at least will be in the budget for your guys' approval. Anything else, Allison? Other
Those are the big things. I mean, we're
department heads?
watching, there's a webinar tomorrow for the I-976.
Right.
And then a number of contracts that you're going to be seeing. Interesting we have a charter franchise coming up, and so public access TV. So there's been a new ruling out of the FCC that is a benefit that should come out of your franchise fees. Our staff was going to recommend discontinuing the public access channel regardless. People are simply using other mediums for getting their information, YouTube and other things. So that's another thing that's been coming down the pike. So you should see this fall as well.
And the next week, work session?
Work session, Public Safety Committee next Thursday. So the chief and I will get together and pull together the agenda for that.
Okay. Council members, anything for the good of the order or any of your committee work?
So I just wanted to give everybody a quick update on the moderate waste facility is moving forward. Still some pieces to kind of work out as far as rates and things like that. We're actually reaching back out to East Wenatchee, Douglas County, to see if they will participate in some way, shape, or form. So that's the update on moderate waste.
Yeah, we'd like to get that done and open. And did we get some revised numbers for the moderate waste for the budget? I think
Yeah,
there was some numbers.
they have the contract they've sent us includes a substantial increase.
Okay. Yeah.
I've seen nothing.
Yeah.
I've seen nothing since the letter that you had.
We'll have to follow up with the county then and see where that's going. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we're adjourned.